Hi, everybody. If you're a subscriber, thank you. And if you happen to stop by and haven't subscribed, please hit that button and subscribe. It's free and it always helps us out here. So you've heard, I'm sure, that every senator, when they get up in the morning to shave or put on their makeup, if it's a woman, they see a future president in the mirror, that the egos are that big. And I think it's safe to say somebody gets to that point in life. Certainly they're thinking of that. The same goes for governors. Every day they look in the mirror and they say, it could be me. I think it's true also for Supreme Court justices. They go their whole lives at judges at lower courts or lawyers, and then they aspire to become judges. They too, when they look in the mirror every morning, they wonder if they're looking at a future Supreme Court justice. Okay. I say this because, yes, the egos are big. Their expectations for themselves are big because most of them, I guess, work pretty hard. We have seen Trump put in people who are not trustworthy and not qualified. That said, once they are there, even if they owe it to him, and he did this for them, I think that there's at some point, they don't like being jerked around by him. Okay. We've seen now today Trump defy the Supreme Court orders to return a man who did not get due process to Maryland from an El Salvador prison. And the president of El Salvador called him a terrorist and said, we're not smuggling him back into the US. So now you've got a Supreme Court. Now, I think Clarence Thomas will do whatever he's told. I think he's so bitter and warped that he just hates everybody and thinks that Trump is his salvation. And he's right on that. Trump is his salvation. But I think Roberts and some of the others, remember, this was a unanimous decision ordering the administration to bring him home. And Trump says no. Trump has decided that he will interpret the law or just ignore the law. That's not going to sit well with all of the Republican nominated Supreme Court justices. We know the Democrats that were the ones that were appointed by Democrats aren't going to like it. So maybe they can't do anything about it now, but they don't like being pushed like this. They might not care that Trump flouts the Constitution and the rule of law. But this is an ego thing now, because many of them have stuck by him. They gave him immunity when he shouldn't have had it. They have ruled unconstitutionally on any number of items to benefit Trump. And now, when they rule on this, that they didn't even think really affected him personally. See, it always seems that when it affects him personally, they're on his side. If it's something that they can do that doesn't affect him, maybe they'll throw the rule of law and justice a few crumbs here and there, as long as it doesn't personally hurt Trump. That's what we've seen. They have pulled his chestnuts out of the fire too many times. And now the worst thing that he can do is insult them this way. So there's a greater point to all this, I guess, that he wants to make. He's laying the groundwork to do this more, to do whatever he wants. I think it's possible the man is dead. Mr. Garcia is dead in El Salvador, and they're hiding that fact. But I don't think Trump, he might have over-egged his pudding by flipping the bird to his own Supreme Court. Maybe it's a test to see how far they'll go. Like he puts Lindsey Graham out there on a daily basis to shill for him, even though Lindsey Graham hates him, but he's got something on him. So he enjoys making Lindsey Graham his you-know-what. All right? Just like Putin has done. He likes showing the world that he owns Trump and that he owns the Republicans. That's why he had Republican senators in 2017, I think it was, to Moscow on our 4th of July, on our Independence Day, to show the world that he can, that he's got them by the short hairs, so to speak. So when you start doing this to the Supreme Court, I don't know for sure. I don't know enough about his picks, except that they're corrupt and weird and don't belong there. But now that they're there, they probably want to be there for life and outlast Trump. Do they really want to spend the rest of their lives being viewed just as Trump's little sock puppet. So I wonder how this is going to go down. They can't do anything about it now. You're not supposed to defy the Supreme Court, obviously, but Trump doesn't follow the law ever. He does what he wants and wants to show everybody that he can get away with it. What this means, though, that in the future, when he may need them for something, he might not have them. He might not get them. He wants to see how far he can push them to cover for his crimes. We'll see how far, well, he wants to see how far that is. We'll see how far it is. But I got to assume that a couple of them are going to be like, no way, no way. Because what's he going to do? Impeach them? That's not going to happen. Impeach them for not obeying him? And he can try. I mean, they're trying to do that in the states at different levels. Federal judges that don't rule the way Republicans like. But it seems to me that something's going to come to a head. We've already seen this happen with some Republican senators. They've had enough of him, and they've had to start pushing back. Now, they are the reason it's gotten this bad. They thought Democrats would take care of it. They thought voters could take care of it. They thought Merrick Garland would take care of it. He didn't, as we've talked about many times. But we've seen senators push back a little, Republican senators. And some of them are at the point where they just don't care anymore, like Mitch McConnell, because he'll be retiring. And I think he's trying to get into heaven or something. So he wants to undo some of the damage that he's done. We see Susan Collins. We see Lisa Murkowski, sometimes Rand Paul, but that's a weird one. He might be doing it for some weird kind of out there Rand Paul reasons. But I think we will see more. Because at some point, they're going to start answering to the people. Supreme Court justices are there for life. They do care about their legacy. Senators still have to run for re-election every 6 years. But I also think that it is a point of personal pride for some of them. They went along with some of this Trump garbage for a long time, but they're not going to do it forever. I don't think I'm being naive. I might be being a little Pollyannish about it. But whenever there's a pinprick of hope, whenever we see some pushback by Republicans or Republican-appointed Supreme Court justices, that gives me hope. Remember, they all know what Trump is. They hate him too. They hate him. They know what a pig he is. Sometimes they hate other people more, everybody else more, so they'll do what Trump wants just to flip the bird to other people. I think that's the category that Clarence Thomas is in. And I think for a long time and in certain areas, that is also the case with Brett Kavanaugh. But remember, they plan on being Supreme Court justices long after Trump is gone. And they've got to be looking to the future in that regard. So yeah, Trump defied them on this. This is actually a big deal. It's to set a precedent. So they've got to, this isn't a one-off. Trump is trying to establish that he can pull anybody off the streets, even US-born American citizens, and say, you're a criminal, you don't get due process, I'm shipping you off to some prison camp in El Salvador, someplace where you'll never be seen or heard from again. I think he wants to do that with his political enemies. I think he wants to do that with people who are office holders. And eventually he'll get to people like me, who just goes on media and criticizes him and tells some uncomfortable truths. That's why he started coming after me as early as 2015. I was telling the truth about him, truths that he didn't want out. So I'm guessing there's safety in numbers. And it's a slow slog. And I don't have a lot of hope for all Republicans, but it just takes a few to turn the tide. And I'm hoping that now that he has basically told the Supreme Court, his own Supreme Court justices, that, you're not really a Supreme Court justice. You still answer to me. I think some of them might bristle at that. And that's what we want to see. So let's start paying close attention.